Good afternoon. Let's first thank our Wilton High School musicians for the welcome reception music. Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wilton Public Schools Hall of Fame and Service with Distinction induction ceremony. It is great to be able to celebrate in person on a spring day. I'm Deborah Lowe, Chairman of the Board of Education. On behalf of all our board members, Ruth DeLuca, Jen Lawler, Randy Schmauk, Nicola Davis, and Pam Ely, thank you for being part of today's celebration. The Hall of Fame and Service with Distinction honors are based on a Board of Ed policy approved in 2016 by then board members Bruce Likely, Chris Finkelstein, Laura Schwem, Lori Rothstein, Glenn Pemberley, and Chris Stroud. The policy outlines the nomination process, establishes a selection committee, and defines high-level, rigorous, and comprehensive criteria for the awards. The Hall of Fame honors graduates of the Wilton schools who demonstrates outstanding excellence and service within their fields and achieve high levels of recognition for their distinguished performance. The Service with Distinction honors members of the Wilton school community who have demonstrated exemplary talent, skill, and dedication in their positions, have had a positive and lasting impact on students, and who serve as an inspiration to colleagues and students. To date, 3 people have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and 2 people have achieved the Service with Distinction designation. This afternoon, we are pleased and proud to bestow the highest honors of the Wilton schools to 4 new members. Again, welcome to the ceremony. Let's enjoy this happy time together. I am pleased to now introduce and turn the proceedings over to our superintendent, Dr. Kevin Smith.
Well, good evening and welcome. Take a look around the room for a moment. You represent many generations of the Wilton community, and I could not be more thrilled to be with you here in person tonight and to celebrate this event. This event is truly one of the most special that our district holds. In terms of significance for students, I think it's actually part of a special triumvirate right alongside the first day of kindergarten and high school graduation. I've come to think of this event as completing the circle. Our Hall of Fame honorees have been formed by the Wilton community, contributed to the life and legacy of our high school and local community, and then have gone on to fulfill their tremendous potential through great works in this great world. And so we're thrilled tonight to present this ceremony and to recognize our honorees and celebrate alongside their families. So our program is going to kick off with a brief musical selection by our Wilton High School Madrigals. So please welcome our Madrigals. First inductee this evening is 1985 graduate, retired Air Force Colonel Jennifer Fulmer. This is how the Air Force describes Colonel Fulmer. Colonel Jen Fulmer retired in September of 2015 after 24 years of honorable service. During her last assignment, she served as Chief, Advanced Strike Requirements Division, Headquarters Air Combat Command with duty at Bolling Air Force Base, District of Columbia. This position serves as Air Combat Command's requirements lead for the Air Force's $70 billion top 3 priority long-range strike bomber program. Colonel Fulmer received her commission in August of 1991 through the Reserve Officer Training Corps program at the University of Colorado. She commanded the 9th Bomb Squadron in garrison and combat and has served in a variety of operational support positions. Prior to her last assignment, she served as Vice Commander, 379th Air Expeditionary Wing, Southwest Asia. This composite wing includes strike, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, mobility, aeromedical evacuation, and command and control assets which support Operation Enduring Freedom. The wing provides support to more than 8,500 Air Force joint and coalition forces. She's a command pilot with more than 2,500 flight hours, including 90 combat missions over Afghanistan and Iraq during Operations Enduring and Iraqi Freedom. There's a long list of ribbons and medals and awards and distinctions that Colonel Fulmer has earned. I'll read a few of them. They're impressive. Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit Medal, Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, Air Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, Aerial Achievement Medal, we're just in A's. Air Force Commendation Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, Combat Readiness Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal with Bronze Star, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. Colonel Fulmer's application came with some very significant recommendations. The first was from retired Brigadier General Roger Watkins, and this is what he had to say. Jen's service in the Air Force for over 20 years displayed significant accomplishment, innovation, excellence, leadership, and courage. Jen was one of the first women to serve in the B-1B bomber aircraft, and she completed numerous combat deployments to the Southwest Asia Theater of Operations, conducting combat missions over Iraq and Afghanistan. Her highly proficient aviation skills and leadership earned her significant recognition and promotions, enabling her to become one of the first commanders of the bomber squadron. After Jen retired from the Air Force, she chose to continue to help military veterans in their transition to civilian life by serving as Executive Director of Boots to Roots in the state of Maine. In this capacity, she personally assisted hundreds of veterans develop resumes, enroll in education and training courses, and assisted in job searches. Retired Admiral Charles Michel of the U.S. Coast Guard wrote this: I was the key director of Joint Interagency Task Force South, headquartered in Key West, Florida. Colonel Fulmer's leadership really shone in this multi-agency, multi-nation, and multilingual command. Her ability to understand and lead through the many historical, cultural, and bureaucratic sensitivities and needs of extremely diverse partners and subordinates fostered an atmosphere of trust and cooperation that ultimately led to the vast majority of the world's cocaine seizures worth billions of dollars and the arrests of hundreds of narco-traffickers. In very challenging operational, political, and legal environments, her demeanor, character, and judgment were absolutely impeccable. In my entire career, Colonel Fulmer was the finest all-around leader I have ever had the honor to supervise at the colonel level. She is an unmatched model of selfless public service, a remarkable credit to the Wilton Public Schools, and is most deserving of an honored place in the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Colonel Jennifer Fulmer.
Thank you very much. I first and foremost want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. None of this would happen without his guidance and love. I want to thank my amazing husband who really, all those things you just heard are only possible because of him, his tolerance, his patience, and his love. My father and mother who provided an amazing foundation for us, who moved us to Wilton High School, or moved us to the town of Wilton in 1978 because of the school system. That's why they moved us up here, because they wanted us to have a great education, and that's what Wilton Schools provides. I want to thank the superintendent, Dr. Smith, and the principal, Bob, where are you? I don't know, and for putting this together, and of course Lucille and Kathleen for all the work behind the scenes that I know that you guys do, because I know being the person next to the person with the title, it really does all the work. I just want to say I'm very humbled to be here in the presence of these two fine gentlemen and what you've done and the lives that you have touched. I can tell you that I have been touched by coaches and leaders and mentors like you. I have stood on the shoulders of giants, and it's because of them that I've had the opportunities to be able to stand here today. This is extremely humbling. I thank you all for being here. I thank the two of you for what you have done and the influences that you have put forth, because it will last forever. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium Mr. Jim Lewicki, who's going to read an introduction of John Core.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you. It's great to see this great crowd here. The gentlemen that are sitting in that front row, the person who I will be putting into the Hall of Fame. It's nice that Kevin is here to introduce all of us, and I just want to say that John Core, who is John Core? John Core was born on July 25th, 1944. He was a graduate of Wilton High School in 1962 and a graduate of the University of Bridgeport in 1966. He was a second lieutenant, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. He in the United States Marine Corps in 1967. John Core was a young man that at first glance you didn't see anything extraordinary about him. His success as a multi-athlete of football, track, and baseball made John a role model for the peers around him. John's greatest trait was quite simply he was a winner. He would never quit, no matter what the score, gave 100% every time, and it rubbed off on the people around him. He was simply able to rally people through the strength of his convictions. Following his graduation from Wilton High School, John went off to attend college at the University of Bridgeport, where he played football. As the conflict grew in Southeast Asia, John didn't wait to be drafted, rather enlisted in the Marine Corps. John graduated from the U.S. Marine Corps Basic School in Quantico, Virginia in June of 1967, and soon left for Vietnam later that month as lieutenant assigned to the 2nd Platoon of India Company with the 1st Marine Division in Da Nang area. On December 28, 1967, John gave a supreme sacrifice. He'd only served in Vietnam for 6 months. In a short amount of time, he was awarded the following commendations: 3 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star with the Combat V for heroic achievement, disregard for his own personal safety and superb leadership, Military Merit Medal of the Republic of Vietnam, Gallantry Cross with a Palm, and the National Order of Vietnam, 5th class, for courage and rare self-sacrifice. That was John Core's legacy. As a member of the board of directors, along with another board member who is here, Claire Camilio, we have given out this award 55 times. And I just want to read about the award. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not. The Lieutenant John G. Core Memorial Award is the oldest and one of the more prestigious awards given to a Wilton High School student. It is named in honor of John Geyer Cord, a member of the Wilton High School class of 1962 and the first student from Wilton High School to be killed in Vietnam. After the sad news of John's supreme sacrifice in service to his country, phone calls were made throughout Wilton and around the country. 3 days later, the Lieutenant John G. Core Memorial Award was founded in what was called the beginning of a tradition. On Monday, May 10th of this year, we celebrated our 55th recipient. The award is given out each year to a student athlete who, in the determination of the committee, best exemplifies John Core in the following 3 categories: athletic participation, outstanding display of leadership and personal character, and a good scholastic record. The recipient of the John Core Award receives a bronze medallion featuring the bust of John Core with his name engraved on the back, a framed certificate of the award, a $10,000 scholarship, a portion presented the night of the award ceremony, and then after a freshman, sophomore, and junior year until matriculation. There was also a $20,000 overseas scholarship to the University of Oxford, University of Cambridge, or University of Edinburgh upon graduation from a four-year university. This recipient may apply to the treasurer of the John G. Core Board for scholarship after receiving the acceptance notice from one of the three aforenamed universities. When we go through getting the award for all these recipients, John Core is always on our mind. There's a lot of people who know John Core, remember John Core. He wasn't with us long, but you know what? His legacy lives on, and we continue to make that happen through this award that we give out. In attendance today, John's sister, Letty Kennefic, along with her grandson Chase, and her cousin Emmy Naylor. So please, if you guys could come up here, it'd be great.
I want to say that I'm always amazed that my brother John is remembered and honored after all these years, and my family thanks you.
At this time, I'd like to invite to the podium Andrew Samia and Dr. Robert O'Donnell, who will present Mr. Jack Majeski.
Good evening, Wilton Public School leaders, members of the community, recipients, and their families. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Andrew Soumier, and I am a former graduate of the 2020 class of Wilton High School and a former member of the Wilton High School varsity golf team. It was the spring of 2020, which would have been the final season of my high school varsity golf career, and I was the co-captain that season, a season that never happened. Instead, the world was in lockdown. During that time, the Wilton Public Schools were accepting nominations for the prestigious Hall of Fame designations. After hearing about the Hall of Fame and reading into what it entailed, I was inspired to nominate Coach Jack Majeski for this distinguished award. For the past 13 years, Jack Majeski has served as the coach of the Wilton High School boys varsity golf team. He is much, much more than our coach. Coach not only teaches the game of golf, but he imparts life lessons and important values. He instills the importance of good character, as his priorities not only include improving golf, but also teaches respect, hard work, and balancing priorities as he serves as a role model for the team. Under Coach's direction, the golf team participates in 2 service programs. The first tee, in which gently used golf clubs and supplies are collected and provided to underprivileged children. The program provides educational opportunities to build character, instill life-enhancing values, and promote healthy life choices through the game of golf. Also, Birdies for the Brave, a PGA charity which the team raises funds for each birdie scored by the team during the seasons. This charity partners with the military home front charities that provide support for military personnel, veterans, and their families. Coach's legacy of service extends far beyond the walls of the school and the fairways of the golf course, into the community. He has served our country in the United States Navy during the Korean War and is a proud veteran. Coach has served our community in leadership positions in his church as a deacon and in the town of Wilton as a volunteer EMT and past president of the Wilton Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and as the executive director of Wilton Community Emergency Response Team. As Coach is well known in the Wilton community for his service, commitment, leadership, and charisma, with the help of my mom, Laurie Soumier, and Mrs. Kate Fulaski, finding others to endorse this nomination was not difficult. I would like to thank Devin Fulaski, representing the Wilton Boys Golf Team, Brian McDermott, representing the Wilton Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and Jerry Sproul from the Wilton Congregational Church for their wonderful supporting letters of recommendation that rounded out this nomination. I would also like to thank Coach Jack Majeski for being a strong leader and positive influence on my life. When I reflect back on where I am in my life and how I've gotten there, I recognize the meaningful influence that Coach had in my life and how I've gotten there, and helping me along the way. So it is with great honor, respect, and adoration to present the Wilton Public Schools Hall of Fame Award, Service with Distinction, to Coach Jack Majeski.
Have you guys ever seen a grown man cry? I'm going to try to get through this. I'm so proud to be included, somehow included, with the group that you're honoring tonight. John, Jennifer, Paul. I'm particularly concerned about the fact that Nick Medeiros is already hanging on the wall. And so that makes 2 armies, 1 Air Force, the United States Navy had something to do with the fact that we're all here this evening. And Jennifer, sir. Thanks to all you guys. Our superintendent of schools, he did even better. We just learned he is the outstanding superintendent of schools in the state of Connecticut. And I've read every word that he wrote in response to that honor. Not one single word about what he did or his capabilities. All I saw was thanks to my staff. Debbie, thanks to my school board. Thanks to my faculty. Thanks to the people who are cleaning up the school as hard as they know how to limit the virus as much as possible. How about let's hear it for our superintendent. And Doc O'Donnell thinks I work for him. He works for me. I'm serious. Always. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm here. And it starts with, get this name carefully, the Wilton Volunteer Ambulance Corps. 55 members. By the way, the ambulance corps was here. They got called out about a half an hour ago. So they got back. About 55 people normally staff the Wilton Volunteer Ambulance Corps. They go through a training session. You would think it's an AP course on Greek. You start in January. Every Tuesday night, 3 hours. Every Thursday night, 3 hours. This goes on through June. Every single Tuesday and Thursday, 3 hours of learning. No spring break. Plus a couple Saturdays, right, John? That's the hands-on part. You're still doing that. Good for you. Good for you. That's just until you get to the state where they test you on all this stuff you learn. Volunteers, these are people just like yourselves. Their volunteer hours are at night, all the weekday nights. These are the people who go to work all day, and when you might go home and have dinner with your family, they're going to the ambulance corps to rescue people from illness or trauma in our city. Thanks, John. What a job. That's what they do. Weekends, they're there 24/2. Saturdays and Sundays, all day long. That's when we rest and have a good time playing golf and things like that. On weekends, they're at the ambulance corps waiting to help people in trouble. Is that a good bunch of people or not? How long, John, what, about 50 years now?
76 was the year we started. Yep.
Right.
I was
We're really lucky to have it. Really fortunate. Then you got to know about CERT. Started 1985 in the land of Disney and earthquakes and mudslides and firestorms and the like. Out there in Los Angeles, they found that when the disasters hit, the first responders were overwhelmed. And what overwhelmed them was stepping over the people who had not prepared for disaster and the like, taking care of these people. They said, hey, we can't get to the work, we can't even get to the job, take care of the people who were losing in disasters. We got to train these people how to prepare for and how to respond to a disaster. It's called Community Emergency Response Team. Did I say 50? This is 105 volunteers, every single one of them. The difference is they can't even plan their schedules. They get dispatched by the police department a lot. This is a different CERT. This is Wilton CERT. That's not like any other CERT from coast to coast. These are 105 people, again, everyone a volunteer. They get called at 2:30 in the morning because some guy has run his automobile into a tree. It's amazing. It's a proclivity in Wilton that when a Wilton driver loses control of their vehicle, you would think they would hit a rock wall. Not too many roads without rock walls in Wilton, Connecticut. They pick a tree and they look to see that the tree is hanging over wires. So it brings down the wires. I can tell you right now, 6 hours. That's how long search are out for that. The call goes out, the police department dispatches those people. They hear on the phone within seconds, Wilton CERT has been activated. If you are available, meet at the fire department and we go from there, right? The team goes from there. Again, volunteers, using their hours. We've had some really, there was a day here not too long, a few years ago, when Route 7, Interstate 7, and the Norwalk River were one and the same. I actually saw a car floating in front of the Four Seasons tennis operation up the road here a little bit. That's the kind of weather. 32 degrees. Oh, by the way, it's sleeting or it's snowing. March 12th, they were out there for 9 hours. Rain, snow, sleet, had the whole deal. When you shut down Route 7, because there's been an accident, many of them are fatalities, that's an automatic 8 hours out on Route 7. It's not uncommon at all to happen. We had a truck on fire here at the, sorry, it's this way, at the entrance to the railroad station, right? Truck on fire. It was a propane truck. The driver set the world record for distancing himself from the truck as soon as it was on fire. That was a little 12-hour experience. Those are the volunteers. 105 of those people responded to anything. I would have been nothing without a fellow by the name of T.G. Rawlins. T.G. Rawlins, it's really funny. In order to advertise our lessons every year for people to become prepared for disaster and how to respond to it, the Wilton Bugle, you know, the paper, the bulletin, said they had a picture. They had a picture of myself and TG in the paper. And the caption was, they'd taken it, we were standing down here by the tennis courts waiting for the 3,000 motorcycles to go through on the United Ride. And the caption says, T.G. Rawlins listening to Jack Majeski. T.G. Rawlins never listened to Jack Majeski. Never. It made Wilton Search so much better, you wouldn't believe it. I used to tell T.G. Rawlins, the best thing you do is, when I go home, I feel a lot better. And the reason is, you spend more money than Doris does. But all the money he spent was so that that group could do a better job, respond faster, and be safer when they're out on the street. That's not all. Where are all those guys in the blue jackets back there? I see them back in the corner. That's where they normally get when I'm trying to talk to them. The support from the school for the athletic teams is terrific. Chris Mcdougall, where in the world are you? There he is, holding up his hand. He and that lady in the athletic office, they think that I work for them. Same deal. They are so supportive, so helpful. We couldn't have a golf team if it weren't for Chris Mcdougall and Lynn Prescott. These guys are great. They've got a lot of help. And it's 300. Now, I'm raising the numbers, I'm outnumbering you. No chance. 300 members of Rolling Hills Country Club. They don't just welcome us, they encourage us. I cannot walk on that golf course and pass a member without, Coach, how's the team doing? Coach, good luck in the match today. That kind of thing. It doesn't cost this school 1 penny. My players pay nothing to play at Rolling Hills Country Club. The professional staff are simply fantastic. Ray Ford and his whole crew. That's not all. I've got another professional here. His name is Stu Watt from Silvermine. I had his daughter on my team some years ago before we had a girls' team. How about that? What a pair. And they're fantastic. And they're fantastic. Rolling Hills also possesses, stick your fingers in your ears, Stu. Rolling Hills possesses the best property manager in the state of Connecticut, and he's standing back here right now, Glenn Perry. Glenn, if you're a member, forgive me, Glenn Perry treats our team better than he treats me. It's true. And thank you, Glenn. What a deal. What else can I tell you other than finally, and I'm sure you love that word, finally, my family. I've got my favorite daughter and my favorite son here. I only have one of each. They're dynamite. We've had a tough year. They lost their mother about a year ago. My one and only. That's Navy talk, Jim. They have simply been totally supportive. I love you guys. Thank you.
Paul, I think the word is indefatigable. So, tremendous. Seriously, gives me great honor to welcome down to the podium some wonderful colleagues to celebrate one of the greatest among us. So please welcome Janet Nobles, Julie Harris, and Joy Higgins.
Yay.
It is my honor and privilege tonight to talk about my colleague and friend, Mr. Paul Schlens. He is a legend, as far as I can tell. I have known hundreds and hundreds of students over my years here, and I will tell you that not a one goes untouched by Mr. Schlens. I was lucky enough to have my children as his students, who both insisted on being here tonight, by the way, Paul. And I will say that he is a voice at Middlebrook. He is the voice. On the leadership table, Paul can say nothing. He can say nothing for a meeting, a week, a month. But when he talks, everyone listens. Because he only says what needs to be said, and he says it in a way that represents everyone. And it's a beautiful thing. His way with words has touched students for decades. His love of poetry and the written word, bar none, he is just the best I have seen. He takes his words so far that I can tell you, we talk so much about social emotional learning in schools these days. Mr. Schlens was about social emotional learning so long ago. He could have written the book. I will tell you that his students don't get a quote at the Soaring Ahead ceremony, although they do. Every member of his team gets a letter from him at the end of the year. And I will tell you, my 2 children still treasure those letters because he took the time before we studied multiple intelligences, before we studied all these things, he knew that every student had a gift to offer. And he found it, and he found it immediately. And that's what makes him such an amazing teacher. There was a long line of people who wanted to be involved in nominating Mr. Schlens for this role, for this night, for this plaque in the hallway, and I'm lucky to be on that list. He wrote me a thank you letter, and in that thank you letter, he mentioned adults, administrators, teachers, but more than those, he mentioned students. And he mentioned some specific students that have touched him in a way that he felt made him a better man and a better teacher. As we all know, Paul is one of the most humble people we know. He has never asked acknowledgement for anything he does, which is one of the things I think we all love most about him. So I got a little curious about some of who these people were that he mentioned. Some of the names were students I too had taught. Some were before my time, as if that's possible. So, as I'm reaching out to these people and I'm researching on Facebook and checking out, LinkedIn, everywhere I can try to find these former students. And without fail, when I contacted someone, the response is, Mr. Schlens, what does he need? Do you want me to get the whole team there? So his years of teaching were right along with his years of coaching soccer and hockey. And those kids, I'm telling you, not one of them responded with anything, what do you need from Mr. Schlens? I'll be there whenever you need me. And that was a beautiful thing to hear. And then when I told them that I was contacting them specifically because he said that they had had an impact on him, they were incredulous. No, you don't understand. He had an impact on me. I said, I don't doubt that, but he said you had an impact on him as well. And that none of them could actually believe that. So some of them are here tonight, some of them could not be. Jake McDougall could not make it from Chicago tonight, but, so Jake McCulley had a lot to say, and I'm not gonna share it because he's gonna write it to you personally. But I'd like to introduce some other people that are here. For example, Mark, are you here? This is Mark. Mark Kowalski. Mark drove here from New Jersey today with his, if there were a Paul Schlens fan club, I think he might be.
Without a doubt.
Yep, without a doubt. More recently, Nick First, are you here? Nick First was here, again. When is it, where is it, and I will be here. Chase Connolly. Many of the adults that he listed are here tonight, and I'm not going to list them. I wanted to really highlight some of these kids that have had such impact on you, Paul. And without fail, they send it back to you times 100. So thank you for the lives you've influenced. Thank you for being a part of my life and my family's life. So much respect.
Everyone, I'm Julia Harris, and I'm honored to be here tonight to say just a few words about Mr. Schlens as he is inducted into the Wilton Public Schools Hall of Fame. I was invited to share just a few words from the perspective of Paul's former principal from 1998 till 2013. As the 8 Red Odyssey team leader, Paul creates harmony. When power corrupts, poetry cleanses. Right, Mr. Schlens? That's a sign that hangs on the wall of his room and the team classroom. Paul is grounded in literature as a guiding force and is recognized for his eloquence and exceptional writing skills, as Janet said. I think we're going to be repeating some themes here. In fact, when Connecticut nominated Middlebrook for the 2011 National Blue Ribbon School Award, Paul was invited to join the small writing committee to complete the application. Remember those afternoons? Clearly, Paul's insightful contribution made a significant difference. The 8 Red Odyssey team interdisciplinary curriculum projects under Paul's leadership are models of excellence for students transitioning from middle to high school. Paul's team really understands, the unique social, emotional, and intellectual developmental needs of their students. The 8 Red students are well prepared to soar ahead to high school, and as Janet said, the comments he writes are amazing. There's no word. Paul, give me a word. Give me the right, but anyway, later he'll give me a word. When Paul speaks, this is what Janet said before, and this is the first thing I thought about. When Paul speaks, after listening carefully to a problem, a crisis, or an obstacle, everyone stops and listens. His earnest and steady approach has served as a North Star on many occasions for many of us. Paul's contributions to the instructional leadership team, the Middlebrook Long Range Planning Team, the Middlebrook Crisis Team, the Tri-State Literacy Steering Committee, and Strategic Planning Committee have been significant. And these are just a few for the 15 years I was with him. I'm sure the list is much longer by now. Paul has truly touched the hearts and minds of the Wilton community, and that is certainly a legacy worthy of the Wilton Public Schools Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Paul.
We're talking about Paul Schlens. It takes 3 of us to talk about it. So then I'm going to take my shot at it. But good evening to all of you, and thank you for being here to honor not only these incredibly gifted, but also giving honorees tonight. I'm here to introduce my friend and colleague, Paul Schlens. And Paul and I have worked together roughly about 20 years, a little over 20 years. And Paul is completing his 43rd year teaching at Middlebrook School. So it's difficult to say in just a few words or in a few minutes anything about Paul Schlens that will properly honor him and accurately capture all he's meant to so many people, young and, well, not so young, but I'm going to try. Paul is a master of the written word. You've heard that at least twice already tonight, but also the spoken word. Just spend a few minutes speaking with him. I know you'll see what I mean, and I know you'll agree. With that in mind, I, of course, need to include a few obligatory quotes from people that have a way with words to capture Paul. So I thought I'd start with one of his favorite, Henry David Thoreau, who said this: "I learned this, at least, by experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life in which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours." I present to you that Paul has not only advanced confidently, following in his dreams by teaching for over 40 years. I don't think it's a stretch to say that it's been a career much richer than he's imagined and filled with spectacular moments of success. This man is probably too humble to truly comprehend the extraordinary impact he has had on thousands of students in his classroom and athletes he's coached. You know, when you teach for over 40 years, you also have the added benefit of teaching the children of former students and the children of former athletes. But through his inspirational character and modeling kind and supportive counsel, Paul's lived a professional life overflowing with successful examples of the lives he's touched. Several of those individuals wrote letters in support of Paul's nomination to the Hall of Fame. You saw a few of them here tonight. Paul takes the time, you heard this as well, so again, we're repeating ourselves a little bit, but Paul takes the time to write personal notes or letters to students, athletes, and colleagues. In those notes, he offers incredible and supportive words of encouragement and advice. If ever you were lucky enough to receive one, you were certainly touched by Paul's care and insight that most certainly led to greater success for you. Bob Newhart once said, "People with a sense of humor tend to be less egocentric and more realistic in their view of the world, and more humble in moments of success and less defeated in times of travail." Paul's all of that and more. He has a fabulous sense of humor woven into a wonderful mix of humility and unassuming sense of wisdom. A fellow colleague of ours, in fact, Toby, you're in the room, Toby Koalas, and I were just chatting recently, and she shared how Paul has this plethora of mental resources that he'll share in a way that can be received by who needs to receive it. I like that. I think that captures him very well. Those of us blessed to have worked with Paul are very lucky. He's incredibly generous with his time as a leader in our building and a partner to his peers. We're stronger and more prepared because he shows us how every day. Here's another repeat moment. You remember the line from the advertisement, "When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen"? Well, for us, that's how we react when Paul speaks. And walk into Paul's classroom and you'll see quotes all over the place. Quotes from the likes of Whitman, Collins, Frost, Thoreau. Some are even on the ceiling. Those of you that were in his class recently, remember, have you seen this? He's got the quotes pasted on the ceiling. And so if someone in the room starts to daydream a bit, he's even inspiring them to think about it. After all, nothing deters a poet, as Thoreau would say. So Paul is not retiring this year. So we get to continue to enjoy him for a little bit longer. And the students of Middlebrook will continue to experience his magic in the classroom. When Dr. Smith and I had the privilege of telling Paul that this celebration was happening, this induction had happened, Paul shared that his last year of teaching would not be with masks on our faces. And he even pulled at it and he goes, "No, I need to see the students' faces." So just so you know, I'm going to work something out with Dr. Smith. I don't know this yet, but we're going to hold Paul to that. So, what do you think, Dr. Smith? Masks every May, maybe June? Anyway, I couldn't speak about my friend without somehow bringing hockey into it. The fact that tonight, actually starting right this minute, is playoff game number 4 between our rivals. Because right now, my New York Rangers are hosting his Carolina Hurricanes. So I believe it would only be fitting that I quote Mark Messier when he says, "I guarantee we will win tonight." I'm obviously not that confident, and he and I have already talked about what kind of game it's going to be tonight. So I thought maybe a more appropriate reference would be quoting Gordie Howe to you, Paul, when I say this. You find that you have peace of mind and can enjoy yourself. Get more sleep and rest when you know that it was 100% effort that you gave. You, sir, most certainly do that every day. And everyone who has the pleasure of experiencing it is the better for it thanks to you. I'm thrilled that the Hall of Fame committee chose to honor you this way. I know you well enough to know that while you're appreciative of this recognition, you'd rather go about your business without any of this. And I realize you can't wait to get in your car and get out of here. Not just because you want to see the game, but because you want us to stop talking about you. And I promise I'll do that now. But first, I just want to say that you deserve every bit of this honor. And I hope that you feel at least a fraction of the love and the respect coming your way that you've provided for so long, for so many. Thank you, Paul. Congratulations.
Don't make a liar out of me. I'll try my best. I'll try my best. Well, that was more than I can bear, just about. I certainly want to make sure that I make a full speech. I want to make sure that I tell you how honored it is I am to be enjoying this night with such remarkable people that were just introduced to you and explained to you and had a chance to learn about what they've done. It is really fantastic. I want to extend my heartiest congratulations to them for what they've done for this community and for the recognition that they so deserve. My day had a funny start, and I thought it was going to be the hardest part of my day. Turns out this is a little bit harder, but I come to work early, and sometimes I'm a little generous with how I stop there by Cider Mill, and today was one of those mornings. It was like 10 to 6, and there's nobody there. I kind of coasted through the stop sign, and by the time I got to Comstock, there was company behind me. It wasn't any of those wonderful people that were explained to you. Something a little more sinister. Called me to task for my overlooking some of the rules. And I thought that was just going to be the hardest part, but standing here and having to follow all those wonderful remarks and all the fine things that have been said about the other people is really tough. I'm thinking of a student I had probably 30 years ago now. I know his real name, but I'll call him Biff just to protect his anonymity there. But Biff was really painfully scared of public speaking. And my partner Tom and I had a lot of public speaking. And the first time that we had a public speaking, we knew how terrified he was, and we tried to coach him up on it. And it just didn't work. And he came and he said, Mr. Schlens, Mr. Everett, can I just give my speech to you alone? And we looked at each other, Tom and I, and we said, all right, Biff, you can. Why don't you come in the morning and you can come in the room and we'll listen to your speech. And he does. He comes in, his mom brings him in, he comes down to the room, and he's at a podium here like me that Tom and I had set up, and we're in desks out there with our pads ready to take notes. And he gets up there and he hesitates, and he looks out at us and he says, I can't do it. And he says, can I give you my speech out in the hallway? Tom and I look at each other and shrug our shoulders and say, all right, Biff, let's go out in the hallway. And this is now the 7 green hallway, if you can picture it, and it's got an exit at one end and then into the rest of the building at the other. And Biff goes out and stands down by the exit, and Tom and I are about 10 yards away. And we're there with our pads, and he's there with his notes, and we wait, and nothing. He doesn't say a word, and we wait some more, and he doesn't say a word, and we say, all right, Biff, you ready? And he says, I can't do it. Could you please turn around? And for a moment, Tom and I looked at each other like, he's going to go out the door. He's going to turn around, he's going to bolt out the door. But we say, wait, we've come this far, right? We got to do it. So we turn around, and this kid gives the greatest speech that I think I've ever heard. It was filled with passion and wonderful content. So if it worked for Biff, if you all don't mind just turning around. But I can certainly appreciate how Biff must have felt. I've got a short set of remarks. I don't want anyone to think that it doesn't mean how grateful I am. And the fact that I'm shy about it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate it. see what I can tell you. Honored dignitaries, gracious guests, thank you for this opportunity to speak. See, they said I could speak well. And it shows you they don't really appreciate the difference between being able to write a pretty decent speech and being able to deliver one. Now, we saw a master at delivery just a moment ago. I was sitting there thinking, man, I'd love to have been at his halftime speeches or whatever they are in golf. Halfway through the competition, whatever it might have been. I don't know if they'd gotten out there for the second half, but they'd have had a wonderful that would have been incredibly inspiring. Honestly, man, you are a fantastic public speaker. I have to violate some of the significant rules of public speaking, and I'm going to read it pretty much to you, and I'm not going to look up. So the students that are here that are former students, you get it now. I tried my best to demonstrate the way to do it, but here we go. It has been and continues to be the highest privilege to be able to work in such a community as this, and among such a remarkable community of colleagues as I have known. And I am reminded daily when I step into the wonderful building up the hill, if the police will let me get there, and into those bustling hallways and vibrant classrooms to dig in alongside this year's crew, that I ought not to ever take those blessings in my life for granted. After my dear wife Maggie and my precious children Brian and Katie, who inspire me every day, those who have most profoundly shown me how to be more of a good man, who teaches well, have been the colleagues and the students and the athletes that I've spent my time with these past 43 years. Some of them so generous as to come on back on a Tuesday night to pay some respect, which I deeply appreciate. In one way or another, each one of them, beautiful and hopeful and exuberant, has shown me and taught me how to do this job with purpose and with passion and with patience and with love. If my career is, in fact, worthy of the recognition that has been gifted to me tonight, when I consider what those colleagues, many of them here, and those students, and those athletes have given me in my life, I know most certainly that there is yet a higher honor indeed. I have also found a deep and important motivation in what President Jimmy Carter said in a difficult speech he gave back in 1979. That was the year I graduated college and the year I was hired here in Wilton. Let me add just a little bit. I got hired in August. That tells you something. And I got hired for part-time. I think I taught 2 sections. And it just, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, my God, you started in August as a part-time teacher. They were incredibly desperate. and it worked out. For me, it worked out better than you could have imagined, just like Thoreau said. Right? And then hopefully it worked out for the school district as well. Part of that, one of the things they asked me to do was take on the freshman soccer team. I didn't know a lick about soccer. I didn't seem to bother them either, and Jim Cook nurtured me along there so I could figure out the game. I think I was doing hockey drills for the first month. Anyway, as I was saying, when I was hired here in Wilton in 1979, the year I graduated college, this is the only job I've ever had in my life. I think I'm a rarity now. Not many people in life can say I started here and I'm ending here and I haven't been anywhere else. So hopefully I can hang on and finish that way. Don't transfer me somewhere else. Well, in that year that I graduated college, Jimmy Carter had to give a really hard speech. Times were rough back then. He was trying to bring some comfort to the people around him. And that speech is also one of the pivotal moments in one of my favorite films, my No Miracle. I can see the scene, the guy's driving home from the Christmas party, and he's in his car, the coach, he's got his radio on, and it's Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter said that we've always had a faith that the days of our children would be better than our own. We've always had a faith that the days of our children would be better than our own. I want to tell you tonight that I think this is what burns like fuel in the heart of every one of us who's ever taught here, or ever coached here, or ever had children of our own. And I know that it is absolutely true of the people that I have, that I still, and that I will continue to work with here in the Wilton Public Schools. I do sincerely appreciate the honor I've been given here tonight and the kindness you all have shown me. Thank you.
Let's close with a few thank yous. First, I'd like to thank our phenomenal students, our musicians who performed for us. So students, thank you. A round of applause for them. Now, behind every good superintendent is a legion of people who do all the hard work. Several of them are here tonight. So my assistant, Lucille DeNovio, Erica Cross, Lori Gettner, they work upstairs with me, and they make my job easy. So the three of them, thank you. Our Hall of Fame committee: Bob O'Donnell, Jory Higgins, Jen Falcone, Kathy Kuhn, Debbie Lowe, Kara Berghaus, Lorian Samia, Michelle Haggerty, Michelle Krupa, Sarah Salafani, Liz Oliva, Steve Husband, and Chris Finkelstein. A big thank you to all of you. There's a couple of other students who've been busy at work tonight also. Our student reporter, Yana Janutsis, and photographer Laura Buchanan, so thank you also. Could I ask our three inductees to please stand for a moment? I want our young people to just look at you for a minute. In my role, one of the opportunities I have is to travel across not only Connecticut, but across the country, and I meet with other educators all over the place. And I'm often asked, what's Wilton like? And what I say in response is, this is a community that is remarkably good at generating people who serve others. And here tonight are three of the best of them. And of course, John Corbin not only served others, but paid the ultimate sacrifice. So on behalf of all of us, we thank you for your service to our young people. Pay close attention, this is how you do it. On that note, a round of applause for the We have a few refreshments left, and I know there are hockey games and things to get to, but thank you again for coming out on this wonderful evening. Good night.